Hello everyone. GreenLine, in collaboration with Know Your Surroundings, brings to you a webinar series on no waste.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Swanandi from Know Your Surroundings, and I'm going to be your host for today. Let us begin the second webinar series on Know Your Waste. I'm sure everyone enjoyed the last session of bioenzymes taken by Ms. Prakriti Bagri. It was quite evident from the questions we received at the end of the webinar. And I hope you all save the same enthusiasm for today's session as well, because today we have called one of the most eminent personalities in the field of home composting. Although it is an injustice to summarize his immense work and achievements, I would make an attempt to quickly introduce to you Mr. Vasuki Iyengar. He is a waste management consultant with more than 7 years of experience in biodegradable waste management, planning, implementing, and coordinating comprehensive waste management systems. He is also the co founder of Shubh Lab, a waste management enterprise, and serves as a trustee at Waste Impact, which conducts Reimagine Waste Hackathon at Indian Institute of Science. Mr. Vasuki is the founder of Soil and Health, a social enterprise based near Bangalore, which aims to provide solutions, products, and consultancy for the sustainable living space. He has traveled internationally to conduct master training programs on do it yourself composting solutions. He has worked on the innovative concept of Swachhagraha Kalika Kendra, which means a clean home learning center. He also runs a rent a cutlery initiative and is a big advocate of the bring your own cutlery concept. Apart from his personal endeavors, he is also associated with civic agencies, resident welfare associations, and citizen volunteers about the Swachh Bhidi Clean Street campaign in Bangalore. He has indeed led people like us by setting up an example of living sustainably, composting kitchen waste, and using bioenzyme. On behalf of Team KYS, Team Greenline, and all our dear audience, I welcome you to the second session of our webinar series, Know Your Waste. And I now hand over this session to you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Swanindi, for that introduction and kind words. So let me share the presentation now. Is the presentation visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so my name is Vasuki Iyengar. I run a social enterprise called Soil and Health in Bengaluru. And today we are going to talk about composting and little bit of growing. And then, use the compost to feed the soil and in turn the trees and plants with nutrition. So, um, first of all, why composting? That's one question. I'm just going to briefly mention about it. India is known for fertile soil before the Green Revolution, and we used to grow our own, crops and vegetables and fruits in the soil. And Green Revolution in the late 70s and early 80s introduced chemical fertilizers and pesticides to our country. So before that, the soil used to be fertile, and healthy soil used to have organic matter level up to 2 to 3%. Now we only find this kind of a organic matter level in the forest. In the depleted soil that the farmers are trying to grow, it's only about 0.5% now, because of excessive use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. There used to be 2 to 3 million earthworms per acre. Now it has come down to only 200 to 300,000 earthworms. Soil microbes, there used to be 10 to 15 tons, and even that has actually depleted. Now, what is that cities can do is compost their kitchen waste, and provide that compost to the the villagers, to the farmers, so that they can replenish the soil, add the compost to the soil to improve the organic matter level. Some of the so there are three reasons why we should do that. One, because cities are dumping their mixed waste into quarries in and around Bangalore, and also there used to be a landfill here also, and that contaminated the soil, it contaminated the water, and it contaminated the air, because we also burn dry leaves along with lot of plastic on the roadside, and that contaminates the air pollution. To avoid this, solid waste management roundtable in Bengaluru came up with this initiative about 4 years ago called Swachhagraha. Swachhagraha's intent is to compost your kitchen waste, grow your own greens. It can be actually greens and vegetables, your safe vegetables, cook and eat and be healthy. And a set of volunteers, citizen volunteers, we got together along with the vendors. There are about 12 to 15 vendors in Bangalore who actually make different variety of compost bins, both aerobic and anaerobic, and came together to make this event, and then to create three green spots. One is the compost, another one is grow, and another one is cook. Now, when I talk about composting, typically any event and place, there are concerns that people share. Is it going to smell bad? That's the first question asked. And then the second question, is it going to generate, mosquitoes get generated, and am I going to, will be infected because of the mosquitoes, is the question asked. So here, first question is, typically the smell issue comes when you actually do not follow the process, which I'm going to actually describe in the PPT, as well as there is a demo that we are going to show, and that will avoid the smell. So it will not smell bad when we follow the process. Second thing is, mosquitoes don't get generated in a compost bin. They get generated in stagnant water, but flies can be around the compost bin. But I will tell you how to avoid flies also. So in a household, the kitchen waste typically is vegetable peels, fruit peels, used coffee tea powder, used flowers. It can be puja flowers, leftover food. There can be some leftover rice, or sambar, or any gravy. Then there is non-veg waste. Again, it can be both cooked and uncooked. If you clean a fish, then there can be some amount of uncooked waste that's available, and then also there can be cooked non-vegetarian waste. All these things can be composted at home and without any smell, and that's what we are going to see. Here is the compost, what we call it as black gold, and it's so useful for many reasons. One, it can when you add this to soil, it can hold more water, moisture. The soil can retain water. You may have heard of actually a lot of floods in various different places in Kerala, Mumbai, and coastal Karnataka and other places. Because the soil is depleted and the organic matter has reduced, it is not able to hold the water, and there are not enough trees also. So the water retention, it helps. You can also grow safe and healthy vegetables and fruits for yourself, and then obviously by not using chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Now the safe greens, the spinach and amaranthus grown, and here is a community garden where it is grown at a large scale. spinach, coriander, and some of the simple greens. So with the compost, you will be able to grow your own greens and vegetables. Now, composting is actually simple science. There's no need to complicate it so much with machinery, electricity usage, and all those things. We need to keep it simple, and there is actually it's more of an art. So we're going to talk about simple science and art of composting now. First thing is actually container. We need to find a suitable container for to do composting, and so that can be a mud pot, or it can be a plastic container, or it can be a mesh composter, which is a metal one. So these are the three options available, and which is suitable is actually more dependent. It depends on the area available, space available at the apartment or home. So all three works, and the choice is actually left to the person who likes to do composting. And we are going to tell you what is the advantage and disadvantage of these containers. There is mud pot, which is actually it can be little heavy, and that's one downside of it. But it breathes naturally, and because and it can absorb actually some amount of moisture, and there is air circulation that it can allow. That's the advantage, but the disadvantage is that it can be heavy. Plastic containers are light, but we need to actually, it doesn't breathe naturally, so we have to make holes, 3 holes around it, which I will show you. Then the last one, mesh composters, is something we use extensively in Bangalore and many of the places, and they are well aerated containers, and I will be showing a demo. It's actually raining here in Bangalore, but hopefully we should be able to find a time where we should be able to show the demo of the mesh composter also. Now there are three things which are very important in composting. The first one is air circulation, because we are actually talking about aerobic composting, and that is the only thing we are covering today. And air circulation is very important. More the air circulation, easier it is. Less air circulation, because of the space constraints, then you will have to actually balance it with the consumable like cocoa peat. So it is good to go for more air circulation. So I'll be showing a choice of containers right after this slide. So there is moisture in green in the kitchen waste. So kitchen waste, as I was mentioning, the vegetable peels, fruit peels, used coffee powder, tea powder, is typically about 60 to 70% moisture, water content, and that needs to be absorbed by brown material, which I will be talking about. Then the third thing that is needed is composting microorganisms. Now, you would have heard about those who have seen Vani Murthy's videos and various other videos. There is microorganisms are everywhere in the air. It's there in our body. It's in our stomach. It helps us to digest our food, and also it is the one which makes milk into curd. And then also there is like dosa dough, if it has to be fermented, and that is actually done by microorganisms. There are specific composting microorganisms, and these composting microorganisms are like there in sour buttermilk, and it can be there also in it is there in cow dung slurry as well. Now the next step is to find a suitable place to place the composter, and this is actually where people say, no, I mean, I don't have any space at all. But when I look at any particular home or a apartment or a villa property, we can actually always find space. So it should be an well aerated place. It can be a window sill, it can be balcony, or it can be in the garage. Also, it can be below the water tank. So like that, it should be uh, protected from the rain. So rain, because if we are doing composting in mud pot or plastic pot, it should be protected from rain. So these are the main important points. The suitable container, first thing, air circulation. Second thing is the understanding that there is water content in the kitchen waste, and that should be balanced by brown material. Third thing is composting microorganisms that helps accelerate the composting process, and then finding a suitable place, and then protection from rain. Now, here is a container that's pretty DIY, do it yourself kind of a container. This is a 10 to 20 liter paint bucket with bottom holes, four holes are there, and a bottom plate. And there is a mesh. This is a 2 feet height by 4 feet in length. The mesh that is, you know, uh, we made it a cylinder and then tied it with binding wire. And this is a fruit, basket cover that's available in plastic. So this is a very good example of well aerated container. So this bucket can be a mud pot also. So this is a very good air circulation. So as I was mentioning, better the air circulation, easier it is to compost. Also, it should not be too much air circulation also. If it is too much, then the stuff will become dry, and that composting will stop also. So there should be a balance. Now, the second option that I was mentioning is that the vegetable peels and fruit peels, 60 to 70% moisture or water content. Cucumber, watermelon it can be 95% moisture, like whereas potato peels and onion peels might have less. But on an average, when you look at kitchen waste, it has this much of moisture. The problems that one can face, whether it with respect to fly issue, fruit flies and house flies, or it can be maggot issue, all the issues that we are going to problems that we are going to talk about, it is actually due to not balancing the moisture. So we need to make sure that all the water content in the kitchen waste gets absorbed by the brown material. Now we call kitchen waste as greens. The browns are crushed dry leaves, cocoa peat, compost. This is a combination. When we put alternate layers of greens and browns, the browns will absorb the water from the greens. And what is the amount? It is 1:1. Kitchen waste to browns by volume. One portion of kitchen waste, you should have one portion of browns. And that browns is a combination. It's either or. You may not have crushed dry leaves always, but you can always use compost and cocoa peat. Okay, so when it comes to composting microorganisms, the diluted sour curd is an option. This helps accelerate the composting process. Make it, instead of that taking 3 months, it will take only 1 month if you add the microorganisms. One source of microorganisms is diluted sour curd. Second one is diluted cow dung slurry. And then there is also microbial cocoa peat that's available. It's called BioClean, which is a compressed block, but there are other vendors who also sell microbes infused in a cocoa peat block or in a powder form. Cocoa peat is nothing but if you take a coconut, pull the husk, and then the powder that drops. It's not the fiber; it is the powder. You try to defiber the fiber, then there will be powder that drops. It has great water absorption capability. So it can actually absorb 1:8 in ratio, of water. So it has become popular in the coastal region and also in the southern Indian states where coconut and cocoa peat is available. Now, the other material source of microorganisms is effective microorganism solution. This is from maple. It's called Environ. It's available on Amazon, and this is actually has worked very effectively on all sorts of kitchen waste, including the non-vegetarian waste. Now, the waste decomposer liquid is another very popular one from National Center for Organic Farming, and this is a source of beneficial microorganisms that can help in both composting and growing. The last option is actually microbial consortium, MC. It's a powder, and other biofertilizers like trichoderma available from agricultural university. If you go to nearby agricultural university in your town, they do sell this powder 1 kg packet. You can also use this. So there's a variety of source of microorganisms available here, and you can use one or either or. And then also again you need to see the effectiveness, particularly on non-vegetarian waste and dry leaves. That's the important thing. So composting can be done without spending money. You can actually not spend zero cost composting. There is actually a container that you can make yourself, DIY, do it yourself, an old bucket or a groceries dabba, grains dabba that you can take and make holes and use it as a composting bin. We also use the curd or takeaway containers and you can actually compost in that also. We named the video as Jugad composting. And there is also, you can use in this case more crushed dry leaves and compost alone, no cocoa peat used, sour curd and cow dung slurry, and mix it once in 3 days. So in this zero cost composting, you need to mix it. So it's possible, and I will be showing some containers for that. There is low cost composting, wherein you can make your own container DIY, but use of cocoa peat actually makes it easy because of urban life where people are busy with their work and not enough time. So I want an easy method. Then use the microbial cocoa peat. Now, there is also, you can use the combination of these three: regular cocoa peat, crushed dry leaves, and compost, so that it can absorb the moisture from the kitchen waste. There shouldn't be any liquid coming out of the container at all. That is the easiest and best way to do composting. Now, the last thing, reasonable cost, where they don't have time for, even to make their own compost kit. Then there are a set of containers that we make it available. I will be showing that also. So now a set of DIY composters, do it yourself. There is, this is a 30-liter, 50-liter drum. So there are 3 holes here. There is also a bin, a green bin, which is a 30-liter bin, and we have made some holes. And then here is another container. So this is an option to use this as a container. Now, pipe composters, it has worked well for me because we make actually 5 holes on the pipe. This is where, if you have a garden and you want to actually feed the soil and feed the plant, then pipe composter is a very good option. This is a 6-inch to 8-inch PVC pipe with a end cap, and we make holes and then we do composting in this. In this, we actually add the waste, add a layer of soil, add a layer of compost, and forget it. Don't worry about harvesting the compost. It will go into the soil. It will feed the tree that you have. You can, if you don't have space on the land, you can actually do this on terrace, where this kind of planters or plant pots, you can actually have the pipes and do the composting. The link here, which actually is a link to my YouTube channel. If you search for Vasuki Iyengar in YouTube, you will find a list of about 40 videos, and you will be able to search for the pipe composter also. Now, this is another very simple and useful composter and very efficient one, where it is actually a 1 inch mesh made cylindrical, and then there is actually a binding wire is used to tie it, and then we have covered it again with a sand mesh so that rat and mouse don't go in. So it is set up on a set of cement blocks, and then this is a very efficient composter. Rain can fall on this one, so that's the difference. When you are using a mud pot or a plastic container, rainwater shouldn't go in, but here in metal containers or mesh composters, rainwater can fall in and it will go into the soil. Now, I was mentioning about this composter. So similarly, you can actually use a mud pot also. This is a very efficient composter. So there is a corresponding video link that's available in my YouTube channel. So the last one, which we made it during uh, the lockdown, and Better India asked me to showcase a composting method and growing in curd dabbas, or it can be old grocery dabbas or old buckets that one can use, and then try to take care of composting. So that's the part of composting unit. Now we are going to show the demo, and then I'll come back and continue talking about the problems that will be faced. Okay. Uh, so I'm going to switch to the mobile, and I'm going to turn off the video here. Okay. Um, so what we have here is a curd dabba that we are using. This is about 1 liter to 2 liter container, and we're going to demonstrate, show how composting is done in this container, and then we will go outside and then see the other containers. So we're going to take this container and add some soil in the bottom to begin with. And then we're going to add some compost, which is the rich black gold that I was talking about. And then there is also cocoa peat that is being added. Now, up to about 50%, half of the container is covered. Now, here is my the vegetable peels and fruit peels, the kitchen waste that has been generated. There is leftover coffee powder and tea powder, and so there is also so we're going to add the kitchen waste. Lemon peels also can be used, but we do make a bioenzyme with it at home. So we don't usually add it to the compost bin, but it can compost. So after that, we're going to add a layer of cocoa peat again. So you can only fill up to another 25% of the container. And then there is, the compost is added, and then again some soil. After this, we're going to actually add some sour curd that is in the bottle. I have diluted the sour curd. Little bit of the accelerator, and then we also have some cow dung slurry. This is actually diluted Jivamruta that was made, and I'm using that. So a little bit of that. And okay, so this has to be now, can be kept in a windowsill or it can also be in a rain protected place because it has no bottom holes. But if you would prefer, you can also make bottom holes. And this is the compost, rich black gold that is made from the kitchen waste. Now, to tell you about the if you have to use a container, this is a 16-liter container, and if you can see that there is a 3 holes made, and then we also have made bottom holes because this is a 16-liter big container, so it requires air circulation, and there is actually holes on the top also. And now I am actually going to step out and show you a pipe composter outside in my garden. This is the PVC pipe I was mentioning about, and um, there is 5 holes on it, and then we also have some 5 holes on the lid also, and then there you can actually see that the waste is added, and then some soil is added to cover it. Now, if it is a family of 3, you need actually about 5 to 6 pipes, and of 6-inch diameter or 8-inch diameter. That's also another perforated sheet composter. Now, here is another paint bucket and mesh combination that works pretty well also. Apart from that, I'm going to step out. This is the event Swachhagraha, and there is swachhagraha.in, the website for you to refer to later for different kind of containers. Here is our big Shishira mesh composter, where uh, the we have dry leaves. It's actually little moist because of the rain, but that's absolutely fine. It's being added into the container. Into this, 6 to 8 homes come and add the kitchen waste. And in the end of the day, we actually cover it with some cocoa peat and compost and some dry leaves. As you can see, you see a lot of flowers. This is all from my street. So this composter is called Shishira because of the season, Shishira season, when the dry leaves fall. And it is a 1-inch mesh composter covered with a 4 perforated sheet. So that's all what you need to do. Add the kitchen waste and then cover it uh, with kitchen waste. So this can be on the footpath, on a street in the dead space where it doesn't uh, you know uh, obstruct the pedestrian movement, or it can be actually on soil. When it rains, this is open and rainwater can go in, and then nutritious water will go into the soil, and it feeds the soil, and it feeds the tree around. And the same compost is used to grow vegetables, as you can see. And here is a another 50-liter container where my neighbors, about 6 to 8 homes, do come and add their waste, and we cover it. So this way, you can actually adopt your neighborhood, and encourage people to do composting. That's also another one. So I'm going to go back inside the home and continue with the presentation. Just give me a minute. Okay, so I'm back inside the home and I'm going to share the presentation again. So, problems in composting. So, the white fungus is good. It continue the process. Don't worry about fungus being forming. It's monsoon season. It's rainy, and it can happen. And this helps in composting. Bad smell is because of the lump of food. Break down the rice blocks. If you have whole chapati and then the dosa and other things, so break it down, or paratha. Then whole vegetables. If you have a musk melon or a a brinjal or tomato, cut it into four pieces and then add it. So smaller the pieces, like 1 inch by 1 inch or half inch by half inch, that will avoid bad smell. Now the ratio is very important between greens and browns, right? I'm going back to the same point again and again. Whatever the volume of kitchen waste you have, equal amount of browns should be used. Now the fruit flies, this can happen like a week later or 10 days after starting the composting. If kitchen waste is visible, then flies will come and start laying eggs, and so avoid kitchen waste being visible. As you saw in the demo, we covered the kitchen waste completely with compost, coco peat, and soil, right, in the container. Similarly, in a container like the other one, where the green one I was showing, we only use coco peat and compost. We don't use soil in that one, but cover the kitchen waste completely. Maggots are babies of the fruit flies and house flies. They are good for composting, but they may look creepy when they crawl out of the container. So try to maintain the moisture between the greens and browns. Then the maggot eggs will not hatch and become worms. The maggot eggs will hatch and become worms only if it is wet, dripping wet, and there is too much of water. And so, leaky bin is because the balance between greens and browns. Rat and mouse, I will show you the picture how one can actually control. So this is bad smell. The camphor works well for fruit flies. You can take a bowl and then put some water, about 4 to 5 pieces of camphor added, place it next to the compost bin. This aroma of camphor comes for about 2 to 3 days. You have to replace it after 3 days, but the aroma actually reduces the fruit flies. You can even test it in your home, in the kitchen. If you have fruit flies, uh, the camphor can help. The other thing that also helps is eucalyptus oil. If you put 2 3 drops of the water into the water here itself along with camphor, very effective in reducing the fruit flies. A mosquito net like this or thin cotton cloth can also help, because it still allows air circulation, but it helps fruit flies not go there and lay their eggs. So if you control fruit flies, you will control the maggots, right? Or once maggots form, you cannot do anything because they have to go through their life cycle. They do try to do a good job inside. So live and let them live. Don't try to take an action just because it is crawling. If it is troubling you, then only try to control them. Otherwise, let them live. Now, maggots is a moisture issue. If you control the moisture, you will have less maggots. And this is a picture of rat proofing your container with a sand mesh. This kind of mesh is available in hardware shops. You can buy and then tie it with a, if you have, rat and mouse, then try to protect your container so that they don't actually go. If you are on a staircase and upstairs, then you can block it with the same 4 sand mesh also. Tips: cut into smaller pieces. Very important. Do not dump Instead, layer it or even mix greens and browns and then add it. Um, Making a bottom bed in the bottom of the container is important. So let me just show, let me stop sharing and then I'll go back to the camera here. So here is the actual composter that I was showing. I hope you can see. Um, Swanandi, is there a way to actually show bigger way in, I think in Zoom and other applications it's available, but hope you, do you see my bucket?
Yes, sir, we can see it very well.
Okay, so there is actually 3 holes. If you are doing composting in this kind of a container, up to this about 4 inches to 6 inches, preparing a bottom bed is very important. Bottom bed of what? Bottom bed of browns. Add some crushed dry leaves, add some compost, add some cocoa peat. So create a very good bottom bed so that in case if you do miss out the ratio proportion, after that on daily basis this bottom bed will take care of it. Now, apart from that, you're going to add the alternate layers of greens and browns. You add a layer of kitchen waste, top it up with browns. Browns are crushed dry leaves, kitchen waste, compost, and then also, cocoa peat. Now, again, next day, open the lid and then add your kitchen waste. When you are adding, spread it. Do not dump the kitchen waste as a lump. Spread it and then cover it with kitchen alternate layers of browns again. So this kind of a container, this is a 16-liter container, depending on the family size. Whether it's a family size of 2 to 4, this can fill up in any time, like in about 5 days to 7 days, right? That's why we have this container as a 1 week challenge container. So try composting 1 week in this, and then you get hooked on to the wonderful world of composting, and then you can actually make more. Now, a family of 4 cannot just compost in only one bin, right? You need a pair, 2 of them. So you fill first one, and then once it is full, you fill the second one. Now, if it is I have a usual joke that I usually do in these programs, which is this container of 16-liter is when you are not married, when you are single, when you are one person. Then you will graduate to a container of 30-liter once you get married, right? And that's again a pair. Now, once you have babies, then you will go for a 50-liter drums, right? So you cannot actually compost in only one bin and overload the composter. You need to follow the procedure. If you are a family of 2 or 3, then you need a pair of 30-liter bins. If you are a family of 4 or 5, then you need container size is 50-liter drums, 2 of them. And again, more than that, if you are a joint family, then go for the mesh composter. So let me go back to the presentation. Okay. um, Protect your compost bin from direct rain, and then you may want to start composting just vegetable peels and fruit peels to begin with, then start adding cooked food once you succeed like 1 or 2 rounds. So that cooked food, you need more care in terms of the ratio. So start off with composting vegetables and fruit peels. Now, there are no restrictions. Citrus peels, onion peels, all these things can be composted in aerobic composting. In vermicomposting, they say don't add citrus peels and onion peels. Now, there is myths. It is too much of work. that's one thing that people say. No, it is not. As you saw in the demo, it only takes about 2 to 5 minutes to take care of your kitchen waste layering in the compost bin. What difference does it make composting? The whole garbage issue is happening because our dry waste is not clean, and compost, the kitchen waste is actually mixed together, and that's what is causing the whole lot of issues. If you can, so all other living creatures clean up their waste, why not human beings? We should also do that, right? Composting smells. I think I have mentioned that multiple times. No, it doesn't when you follow the process. Mosquitoes, no, not at all. You can't compost in an apartment. That's not true. Again, you need space in your heart and mind to find space to do composting. Composting is expensive. Now we do have those options: zero cost, low cost, and then reasonable cost. I never say anything expensive, neither cheap, because it's all about effort versus cost. You are ready to put more effort, then you can actually go for a DIY solution. If you are actually do not have so much time, then you can actually choose some of the containers available in the market. So compost uses two portions of kitchen compost and one portion of red soil. You will be able to grow your own simple greens and vegetables. Now, when we talk about greens and vegetables, simple ones, there are five, greens. One is spinach or palak. Second thing is amaranthus. Third one is actually methi or fenugreek. Fourth one coriander, and then there is dill. These are the things that easily grows, and you cannot easily. I mean, simple process. If you follow of two portions of kitchen compost and one portion red soil, you will be able to grow these things. Many people actually just grow in the compost itself without adding the soil. That is also possible for growing greens. Now, five vegetables. First one, radish, beans, tomato, okra, and brinjal. These are the easy ones that one can grow. So do not jump into growing capsicum and carrot and all those things. Try to grow simple five vegetables and greens. Now, you can also do community gardening, bring it together with the compost, and then try to grow together in a apartment or a villa property. You can also, if you cannot do any of those things, donate the compost to the nearby park. Now, two portions compost and one portion soil. There is actually liquid fertilizers. One can make a banana compost tea with banana peels. It really is a very simple recipe. Bioenzyme, it's already covered yesterday. Onion peels tea, this is also a very good liquid fertilizer also. Um, that looks beautiful, right? The vegetables and greens grown. In Bangalore, we have a Facebook group called Organic Terrace Gardening. It's actually worldwide, but there are a lot of members from Bangalore. There is an event that happens once in 2 months called Uta from Your Tota, which means food from your garden. And lot of composting vendors growing, and also actually sustainable living vendors have their shops there, and then people go and buy those things. Community gardening, people can come together to grow. So the next part is actually community composting at apartment level. I will be actually speaking about that. And then there is lane composters. This is a thing about Bangalore. On street level, we have composting units, like similar to the one that I showed, which is next to my, on my footpath. And also we have these mesh composters at the temples, schools, and institutions. So These are some of the ideas. It's a 220-liter drum, and one can actually make a composter by making two doors. There is a door here, and opposite to this there is another door. This mesh is to make it rack proof. It's on a stand with a basin below for the leachate, any leachate to come down. This can be sufficient for about 4 to 5 homes. This is again another mesh composter covered with a jute sack. It's for an apartment and a villa community. We have about 15 vendors who provide such containers for apartments and communities. And these are actually for apartments who have less space. And these are actually less minimum air circulation, but they use more cocoa peat, these composters. It's daily dumps aga. There is Arbin, solar marigold. This one, it uses solar energy also. There is a FRP, fiber reinforced plastic containers. Now here are some of the mesh composters and more air circulation containers: Stone Soups Aditi, Shuddh Lab, and then Soil and Health Ghana and Shishira. That's rich black gold being extracted from these mesh composters. They are very economical and efficient also. And you will be able to harvest the black gold. And a pumpkin creeper that has grown in the container, and it shows that the stuff inside is fertile and nutritious compost. And the mesh composters have become popular in temples. Here we have it in about 50 temples because they have a lot of used flowers and some dry leaves, and there is actually some amount of vegetable peels and fruit peels are being composted in temples here. Temples can be place of it can influence a large set of devotees, and if when it can be done at a temple, it can be done at home too. So, and there is also the street level composters or lane composters. This can sit easily on a footpath. This is also, and this one, and 6 to 8 homes can manage their waste on that particular street. So this is a Shishira Swachha Bidi. Swachha Bidi means a clean street, and that's the compost being harvested through the door by here, and this is the rich black gold. Those are my neighbors who actually come and put the waste into the composter. There are composters at schools. That's a government school where children are actually composting the free meal, the midday meal that they get, whatever the leftover, about 1.5 to 2.5, 3 kg of cooked waste, they are happily composting in the school, and that's about it. Now, as far as the space is concerned, we need a heart and a mind, and then we should be able to do it. It is possible. A lot of people say that it's possible in Bangalore, but it's not possible in our street, in our town, because my neighbors are cranky. No, it's actually you just start. By having it in front of your home, showcase it with pride. Say, I am actually proudly composting my own kitchen waste, and that's what I am doing in front of my home. Then obviously keep it simple and lead by example. Then you can influence a large set of people. That's what Vani Mukti has done, and we are all actually influenced by her work. Make your home a learning center, right? That's what I was showing, the pipe composter. So I'm not actually only pushing for one type of composter. You can pick and choose which one is suitable for you depending on the space availability. And then supervision, this is very important. You can actually sponsor something and then to a school or a temple, but unless we supervise well, and then also take care of the cocoa peat first. is important. And the last thing, be consultative. One solution cannot work for all, and we need to actually have a good set of solutions that can work. Last thing, again, citizen volunteers, politicians, and civic officials should come together to make things happen. We cannot just keep blaming them and not be part of the city. These are some of the links, URL, and that's my company name, Soil and Health, and the website address, soilandhealth.in. I'm on Instagram, vasuki.composting is my handle. I'm on Facebook and also in YouTube. So search for Vasuki Iyengar, and finally, that's my phone number in the bottom. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I will be starting with the question answer session in a bit.
Sure.
Okay, so we have been asked a lot of questions, and this shows that your session was very entertaining and everyone absolutely loved it. So I will go ahead with the question. Somebody has asked that while they were composting today, they were sieving and they found a really big fat white worm, and they were asking if it's a good thing or a bad thing. They have also found black soldier flies, so they wanted to know if it was healthy for their compost or not.
Absolutely. Actually, in US and Europe, they buy black soldier fly eggs and introduce them into the compost bin. And black soldier flies, they may look like bees, but they don't sting you. They come automatically when you are composting. It's a good thing that they visited your compost bin, and they do a very good job. Their maggots, the worms, are called maggots, and they eat a lot and they do contribute to your compost bin. So then they don't harm you, neither the plants nor the human beings. So continue with the process.
Okay, sir, that's a very good explanation. Can people please mute themselves? Thank you. Yes, sir. So that was a very good explanation, because we generally see maggots and we just feel very repulsed by them. So it's a possibility that people might just throw them away and they don't realize that they're really important. Nevertheless, somebody has also asked if compost can be done in a ground pit.
See, pit composting is what we started with in villages and where there was ample space. The disadvantage with pit composting is two things. One is that it can, you are actually covering it with soil after adding the kitchen waste and some amount of dry leaves. And it can become anaerobic when you completely close it. And it takes a long time. The second aspect is the rat and mouse may actually come and dig through, and their population may increase when you do pit composting. I would suggest actually doing a heap method of composting. Create a heap above the ground, and as I was showing, the cement blocks and then the mesh composters, so that its rat and mouse do not disturb the whole composting process.
Okay, sir, somebody also wanted to know how often you can add sour curd to your bin.
It's typically twice a week. It's good to spray. In fact, I did not show the spray part of it, but you can actually spray it on kitchen waste. That will be the microorganisms should come in contact with your kitchen waste first. So you can actually add it twice a week, and that should be good.
So these nitty gritties, in fact, are very important. We don't realize. We feel that kitchen waste is just dumping waste upon each other and it'll take care of itself. But that's very nice of you to just tell us the small details of it. There was someone who has asked if you can sun dry the waste and then add it to the bin.
See, once you harvest the compost, Typically, if you are composting about 10 kg of kitchen waste, you get about uh, 2.5 to 3 kg of compost, and half of it reuse it again, and then other half use it in your garden, because kitchen waste compost is the easy, your own compost. Do not sun dry it directly in sun, because that will kill all the good microorganisms. You need to actually have about 30% to 40% moisture, water content in your compost, because it has to be a living thing. So don't put it in sun dry it for half a day, 2 days, and all those things. Instead, try to dry it in shadow, shade dry it.
Okay. Someone wants to know what is a bokashi powder.
Sure. So the other method of composting is anaerobic. It's called bokashi composting, and bokashi means in Japanese language fermentation. You are fermenting, or you are pickling your kitchen waste with the bokashi powder. Bokashi powder is a rice bran, and into that they would have actually infused a set of anaerobic microorganisms that helps pickle your waste. It's very similar to pickling your lemon peels and lemon and other things. So similarly, bokashi is a fermentation method of composting. But there is two stage. You are fermenting and then layering again in an aerobic bin. So stage one is anaerobic, stage two is aerobic.
Okay, and so after composting, even I have seen this issue come up that somebody has also pointed it out that after they have been composting for a while, they have found palm date saplings in the compost and they want to know what you could do with those.
Palm date saplings means
Um,
that it has germinated.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. See, a lot of things germinate in a compost bin, like papaya seeds. If you have added the tomato plants, they actually germinate, and then even cucumber, seeds or pumpkin seeds. It actually shows that it is a good quality compost. Unfortunately, if you don't have space to grow palm tree, then obviously you might as well, compost it again. That's what you can do. But we do, try to grow that separately. See, instead of buying tomato seeds from the shop to grow tomato plant, you try to take out from your compost bin itself and then grow. They are actually very strong. You get more tomatoes if you grow out of your kitchen waste.
So some people wanted to know that how useful is a tumbler for composting? Can they use earthen flower pots for composting?
Yeah, tumbler composting is useful because if you are tumbling, you are mixing it better, and also it will use less cocoa peat, and it can be actually tumbling helps, and then that also can reduce the total duration taken for composting. So definitely there are many tumbler composters available. About earthen pots, you need to have a lid, because without the lid, a rat or a mouse can also come and destroy the whole thing. So use a container with a lid. It can be an earthen pot. Yes.
Someone had one more question about the process. They wanted to know that can they mix the compost once it is full and we have closed the plastic container, or do they just close and wait for it to turn into a compost? So is mixing required basically?
It depends actually. If you are using only dry leaves, crushed dry leaves and sour buttermilk, then you need to mix it in that method. If you are using cocoa peat and compost and you are doing this alternate layers, then there is no need to mix it. In fact, if you mix it, you are actually disturbing those maggots that may be there and doing their job, and they don't like to be, disturbed, and they start coming out. So you might as well leave it without mixing it.
And sir, how long will it take for one batch of compost to happen?
So one of the video I have in my channel is not everything gets composted at the same time. So, but minimum time is 1 month. After 1 month, it will not smell bad, and but you will find some of the chunks not composted. Some things actually composted already. Like if you are taking flowers and vegetable peels, they compost in 1 month. Whereas if you have added some of the harder stuff, then actually like beetroot peels and things like that, that may take longer. So it varies from 1 month to 3 months, but you can pick out stuff that is not composted and use the remaining compost.
So our audience is quite inquisitive and they are thinking about a lot of questions in very different ways. Someone wanted to know if there is an alternative to dry leaf, the browns, basically.
That's a very usual, typically asked question. And in North India, particularly, there may not be actually cocoa peat available also. And so the alternate material is actually compost. You don't use all your compost for your garden. Save it for your next round. Now, the wood chips and wood shavings are something that is used in Europe and North America a lot, but it actually slows down the process. It takes longer. As long as you are ready to wait, then you can use wood chips and wood shavings. But sawdust can actually make it anaerobic, so that's why we don't recommend sawdust. But these things can be used.
Okay, sir. Someone also wanted to know what is the shelf life of a compost?
That depends on actually maintaining the moisture level. If the compost is dries up and it's in an open container, then the microbes will die also. So keep it in a closed container and keep checking the moisture level. It should be 30% to 40%. Then it's compost which is live. So there will be some amount of creepy crawlies, smaller insects and worms, and that show indicates that it is alive.
Sir, so I'm also a microbiologist and I can understand the importance of having microbes that are alive, because in a lot of cases people just consider them not so important because you can look in them. So it's a
Right.
very vital fact that we don't, it's not in front of our eyes, but we certainly miss it. But that's very true. Someone also wanted to know that what is the frequency at which you can add these wastes, and at what intervals? Can it be daily or 3 days or weekly or what?
Daily, definitely. Do not accumulate waste in any container and add it like once in 2 days, 3 days, and all those things. We also recommend that you add the waste as soon as you generate. So, see if you can actually get rid of that wet waste bin and go and add the waste directly into the compost bin itself. And that's the best method. So if you leave it in an open container or in a container, fruit flies, and other flies can actually house flies can lay eggs. So this will avoid that situation. So you can add it daily.
Sir, but in a case of a compost, do we have any sort of leachate formation, and can that be harmful?
No, see, the leachate word is used in association with huge landfills where it's very acidic in nature. The pH value is like 4 or so, and then it's very strong, and that can actually pollute the groundwater, and it can also have harmful effect. But what comes out of a kitchen waste compost bin at home, the leachate is good. You can dilute it 1:50 and feed it to your plant. It is a liquid nutrient, and do not pour it as is, but do dilute it 1:50 and add it to the plants.
Okay, I will take a last question. What about non-veg and eggshells? So can you add any non-veg to the compost?
Yes. So eggshells, let me answer that question first. Eggshells, you keep it in an open container in your utility space. Do not put it in a plastic bag and then close it, then it will smell bad. If you keep it in an open container, it will dry up. Once a week, you crush it with a mortar and a pestle basically, and then crush it and then add it to your compost bin. A lot of people actually add used coffee powder and tea powder along with crushed eggshells directly to their plants also, and that is absolutely fine as well. Now, the second thing with non-veg, there is controversy that it can actually have a coliform and E. coli and the parasites that can actually harm because it is non-vegetarian based. If you are concerned, then use a pair of gloves when while handling, but compost it, and then also use a mask and gloves while handling the compost. Now, the compost made from non-vegetarian food, both cooked and uncooked, is more nutritious than the compost from vegetable peels and fruit peels. So you may want to as well save it and then use it.
So, sir, that was in fact a new information to me as well. I was not aware of the nutritious differences in a non-vegetarian compost and a vegetarian compost.
Yes, actually, fish waste compost sells at 70 rupees per kg, whereas the kitchen waste compost only can maximum fetch you only 5 rupees or 10 rupees. And the reason is because the chicken waste compost and fish waste compost is more nutritious and for the plant.
Okay, so sir, this is a very interesting question, session, and a lot of people have a lot of questions, but unfortunately, due to the shortage of time, we cannot address to all of them. So I request our audience to post these questions in the WhatsApp group, and we will direct them to sir. And with that, unfortunately, I have to say that we have come to an end of this session. So I would like to present a vote of thanks to Sir. And I believe that after this session, when we switch off our laptops and mobile phones and just, enter the kitchen for a quick snack, we will look at our fruit peels, our vegetable peels, and all the waste in a completely new light. And that will give us perhaps more accountability to the waste that we are generating and the sort of responsibility we hold towards reducing it. Also, sir, after your session, I believe that we have got the key to make a difference, and I'm sure this is a wonderful feeling. For me it is, and I'm sure it's for everybody else as well. So on behalf of everyone present here, when I say this, it's absolutely true that, sir, this was a lovely session and we are truly thankful for it. I also want to thank all our background workforce of both the organizations, Know Your Surroundings and GreenLine, for bearing the maximum weight of the series. We see this series for an hour or two in a day, but they have worked relentlessly for about a month in organizing and conceptualizing everything that goes behind it. So thank you, Team KYS and Team GreenLine. And of course, we haven't forgotten you, our audience. Thank you for joining, and thank you for coming today, making this webinar a huge success. We hope that you continue supporting us in the future events as well. Thank you so much.